Hello, me lovelies. If anyone's out there, anyone out there, just let's see if when I start getting people coming in. When I'm waiting, I just want to do something. Anyway, that's done. Just had to do a little ordering online. Hello, Joanna. Hello, Mark. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Sheriff. Matrix. Gavin. Scheme. Carol. It's all been drama again, hasn't it? Who? Oh, that's it. Everyone's leaving him, isn't he? Bad looks for it. But yeah, it's all been getting high drama, and especially with this motorsports buggy. Well, buggies where everyone keeps on getting his name wrong, don't they? Even in Buffy, even Victoria. Yeah, so it's all getting really, very dramatic, especially when someone's running around with a knife. But did anyone notice? I mean, I put up at I haven't looked actually. I'll have a look at it in a minute. On my community post a question, about most sports. He's gone away from the house. It was his mama's house, wasn't it? And I have something to say about him saying about his mama passing away. Yeah, he's gone away. I left his wife there, and there's a kid's party, and that fella's still running around. Don't know. It sounds very odd to me, very odd to me. But yeah, he said, I didn't know his mum had passed away, and I'd never be funny about anyone. I'd never slag anyone's parents off or the children off. I wouldn't do it. You just don't do that. But I thought he was saying, because he was saying my mama's house, I thought he meant, he didn't say what was my mama's house, but again, she only passed away in December apparently. But I wouldn't call anyone. I wasn't being funny. It's just that, you know what I'm like with curse words. And I thought that his mama was there when he was coming out with all this foul language. I didn't know look, she wouldn't have had to pass away for me not to want to do anything like that. I wouldn't insult anyone in that way. But it seems odd that he's gone off. I mean, would you do that? Don't know. There's twists and turns going on this, so it's very strange. I don't know about this accent. Anyway, have I put the link in? Yeah. Put the link in if anyone wants to join in. I haven't heard about this accident. Axel was the one that made the video, wasn't it? That he did in Liverpool. Do you know, I've got short sleeves on here and it's quite cold. And the little cat that comes into the garden that for ages, God, a couple of years, wouldn't come near me. Started coming near me. Now it lets me pet it. And I give it little bits of food. I buy food in for it to get only little bits, because I don't want it going back. If it's, I think it's feral, but it might have a home. But anyway, it was out in the garden all day. Kept on going there, having a little sleep, had some to eat. And so I went up to it, sat down, and we had a little pet, because it won't come in the house. It just will not come near the house. Hiya, Mrs. O. Joe, I'm not giving any shout outs unless I know who it is, because there's people going around asking for shout outs, and I'm sorry. It's they're going around saying that's birthdays, stuff like that. I don't know who it is, but know who it is, I'll give a shout out. Now, Dan, tell me who it is then, Dan, that you want me to give the shout out to. Tell me why I should be giving a shout out to. Who is he? So anyway, yeah, we had this attack on Motorsports, didn't we? Which was all very, very dramatic. Sorry that I'm stopping me. I'm just seeing where that's. Yeah, that's. It was all extremely dramatic, wasn't it? I mean, it looked genuine. Well, what he was saying sounded genuine, but then it just got weird because I couldn't work out why he'd run up to the bus and let him get on the bus. But I don't believe, like a lot of people are saying, I don't believe for 1 minute Decca was behind it. But then why go away? Do you know what? There's a bleeding box, jumps up now and again. It's gone. Yeah, he has, Doggy, he has created a lot of it. He started off, didn't he? You know, he was just doing videos from his bed, but now he's got into his head he's a superstar. Or he's verging on being a huge superstar YouTuber. And he's taken up with Exposure TV, isn't it? And the two of them are sort of getting this thing that they're going to be huge, huge stars. I can tell you now what I saw on Exposure TV the other night. What was going on? I think sometime Exposure TV is going to wake up and there's going to be no channel there. YouTube will have taken it down and they'll just get a message you violated too many of the codes of conduct, community standards, sorry. Because it's not on, you can't act like that. And the algorithm will just grab them right down. This is the, it's all right getting loads of clicks and, his mantras and he's got his PayPal and all that and getting that and getting the attention. But you have to keep that up or you won't keep your audience. But the problem is that kind of stuff, eventually YouTube catches up with the algorithm and it takes your site down. So suddenly you wake up, it's gone. Well, that's what I don't know. Why did he let DH on his Facebook when he knows so much about him? I don't know, and I don't know why DH would have wanted to go onto his Facebook. Because this is what I can't work out. Out of all the enemies Decca has, Motorsports isn't up at the top. He's quite low down, isn't he? So why would he arrange for someone to go and attack Motorsports? But anyway, so that all happened. But what I wanted to point out as well, because this is getting on my nerves, this actually cropped up when it was on Steve Wright's channel the other day. And some woman said about, these drug dealers criticizing Decca or anyone else, who are they? Oh, that's so true. That's not a Christian. That is not a Christian, I can assure you. That's anything but a Christian. You can call yourself a Christian all you want, but when you spew out vile hate. And what I believe he said about Paul Venice, we're talking about Exposure TV here. He said to Paul Venice, didn't he, that Satan made him do what he did when he was, with Dr. Rackpull and all this. Well, if Satan can get that close to him, let's put it this way, and I'm not a Christian, but I was brought up a Catholic when I was younger, but I stopped believing in it. If you're walking in the light with the Lord, Satan can't get near you. He seemed to get very close and influence and Exposure TV very easily. And there's another saying as well, the devil can't enter a closed door. The house has to be open. In other words, someone has to be receptive before. That's the saying. So, it's lovely, isn't it, to have someone to blame when you're doing wrong. So you don't have to take accountability for your own actions to blame a mythical creature like Satan. It wasn't me, it was Satan. So where do we stop with that? The Moors murderers didn't do what they did. It was Satan. Let's see some other ones. These people that kill their children, it's not them that are doing it. It's Satan. What about Decca? If Decca's done the things he said, shouldn't it be all? It's not Decca. It's Satan that's doing it. See where it leads to? And on benefits and screwing your benefits by having to, having to PayPal and all that. Need I say any more? But anyway, I've digressed, haven't I? I've diverged from the topic. Yet I want to talk about this drug issue. Now, we all know Motorsports. I won't say his real name. People know his real name, though. He was had over $250,000, wasn't it? 240,000 seized in assets that he made from from cocaine deals and all this, dealing in cocaine. Now, this is, and I'm not just getting at him here, I'm getting at all of them. And I had this out with Sean Atwood as well when he was going on about, his ecstasy things. Sean Atwood was connected with all these European cartels and all this. But motorsports buggies as well, definitely with cocaine, when you talk about the hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, whatever. I can tell you now, I can tell you 100% because the police know it. You start dealing in that, part of that money, whether you like it or not, is going to go to funding child exploitation. You know what I mean? What people refer to as wrongfully as child porn. Don't call it child porn, people. It's insulting. Because the simple matter is, to call it porn is to say somehow there's an agreement there. No child makes an agreement for that. No child can. So you call it what it is. It's child abuse. Child's abuse. That's what it is. It's not porn. It's child. Call it exactly what it is. Anyway, definitely part of that money got down the line of the supply chain will go to doing that. And also human trafficking, which includes forcing women into sex work. So motorsports buggy, Sean Atwood, none of these dealers, none of them, even though they're trying to play like, no, they're heroes, some of them. No, they were doing that. And you ask them, you say, come on, explain what happened to that. They won't talk about that. They will never talk about it. But that's the harsh truth about it. So if motorsports buggies want to start going on at Decca Heggie, he wants to own up to the fact that he has, whether I could say unwittingly, look, they know, they just push it back to they push it to the back of their minds. That's what they do. It's like, oh, no. I can't smell any smoke coming out of that chimney where all those Jewish people are being kept. It's that kind of thing. I can't smell it. What smoke? It's that kind of attitude. But that's the reality of it. So we have to confess to that he has actually enabled the abuse through what he did in the past of God knows how many children. And Sean Atwood and others have as well. I've had this out with Sean Atwood. He will not discuss it because it's too much for them to handle, to face it up. Are you mouse charger? Bullying wise, yeah, Minto. Children can be extremely cruel. That's an old saying, and it's true. Children can be, especially now. I mean, we've always had bullying, but in the past, when you got bullied, right? Though luckily I was never, as a kid, a victim of bullying. You got the odd bit of bullying, but the schools I was at, it just didn't happen. That was the kind of thing. It didn't happen. But yeah, you had odd instances, where you'd be picked on. But now it's a different game. You could walk home, you could get home, close your door, and your bullies couldn't get to you. But now they can get to you via your Facebook, your YouTube, what's that thing? And that the young ones like Twitch and all this, whatever it is. So TikTok and all that. So they can get you through that. It's relentless now. It's relentless, the bullying. They just can't get away from it now. Hello, TG. Hello, sweetie. Well, it's condoning it. It's definitely condoning it, Miss Note, laughing at hate speech or anything like that. I mean, that was just vile. That went to a level of really scum. And trying to pass it off as roasting. No, that's not roasting. Would they do that to someone who had Down syndrome? Would they do it to someone that was autistic? No, they wouldn't. And I am autistic, actually, high functioning autism. But would they do that to someone like Billy Moore's brother, Joe? I can't help the way I was born. No insects. And this is what I want to address as well. Motorsports made an absolutely horrendous remark about me. Horrendous remark, calling me a freak of nature. And he was definitely put in association with the fact that I'm intersex. He's not just calling me there, he's calling every child, baby that is born into this world intersex. And believe me, it's not easy. There can be terrible medical consequences to it and conditions that come with us. And also, you've got the problem that you've got parents with a child that, because of the attitude of people like Motorsports, because of the attitude of people like Exposure TV, because of others like Johnny Sparrow, what he had on his channel, going on the way they do, what it is, those parents are terrified because they know their child will be stigmatized, and so will they. And they'll go after that child. These scum wouldn't give two hoots about going after the child. But actually, when you call someone a freak of nature, actually, I could have them arrested right now for that. Make no bones about it. To call someone intersex a freak of nature, you could. But, let him get on with what he's doing. So that's one thing I wanted to address. It's just you call me horrible person, call me ugly, whatever you want, but don't go on about insects because you're calling every insects person then. And I'd love them to actually go round and see what life can be like for insects people. Hi, Ebenezer. Yeah, so there's no one going to join me in on the chat. Someone must have an opinion. But this is what they do. They use weird thing and freak and all this. I say that's the Christian. And if he's a Christian, hasn't God created me this way? Does God create anything that is imperfect? What he's saying is that I'm a thing, a creature, I'm imperfect, and God has done that. He's the most blasphemous. There's one horrible one where he's actually got, that one was it specs or whatever it is, it's got a pair of glasses. And that goes on, gives out hate speech towards me. And he turned around and he'd said something about me. And you see it up on the screen, and at that point, and Thingy was on there, Humble Dryer, and at that point Exposure started saying a prayer. Oh, Jesus, and all this, help this person, and all that, with this hate speech at the bottom, pinned to his live. And I thought, he's such an idiot. He doesn't realise he's being blasphemous, saying a prayer and doing that. But this is what happens, and I can tell you now, he's an ex-heavy drug user. He'll have got up to all sorts. I can see it. I've seen it before, and they suddenly turn Christian. You've seen it with all of them. They suddenly turn to Christian because they can't live with their own conscience, so it's easy to blame it on Satan or someone else. And what it is, they don't know the Bible. They have I call it Disneyland Christianity. I've spoken this before, Disneyland Christianity. It's like a storybook version that they make up, and they just take the bits they want. Oh, Jesus forgives. If you want forgiveness, a magical fairy, like a fairy godmother, will come down called Jesus with his magic wand and go, ping, you are forgiven because you say you believe in me. No, it's not quite as simple as that. If they actually read the Bible, there's a lot of rules that you have to follow. There's a lot of strict guidelines, especially on people who are supposed to be remorseful for the past sinful ways. One, is Exposure TV married? He better be, because if he isn't, he's in serious trouble. It's in there. He can't go living. If you're a Christian, you can't go living and having, rumpy bumpy or having babies outside of the marriage state. You just can't do it. And marriage is, as it says in the Bible, it's the most dearest thing to God, the family. And marriage itself. And to break that or to abuse it is akin to committing murder. And that's why, if you look at this, an interesting thing. See, he won't know all this. None of them do. These sort of ones that suddenly go on, Jesus is love and all this. You can tell by the way they talk, they don't know it. Jesus certainly wasn't all love. If you read it, he spoke about the torments of hell more than anyone else in the Bible. Yet he spoke a lot of love, spoke a lot of sense. I'd never call Jesus, because the words that are attributed to him are very like what the Buddha said as well. So it's all very much, you can't call someone for doing that, but he wasn't meek and mild as they make out. He wasn't. He could be very staunch and very. He was look. He terrified the moneylenders in the temple, didn't he? He would have been a big strapping fella to be able to do that. But they have this fairy tale, but the rules are there. You can't repent, then start sinning again. Or you're totally lost. And what's the other thing it says? Give up unto Caesar render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Now, when Jesus was saying that, he was talking about money. Because, of course, the money is the state. It's created by the state. And taxes he was talking about, actually. So what he was saying is, if you're being asked for taxes, well, money is a creation of the world. In other words, he was saying in code, it's the creation of the devil, money. So what you have to do is, when you're being asked for your taxes, give your taxes up. Just give them up, your taxes. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. In other words, give it to the government, give it to the state, whoever's asking for it. But what he's doing is, and he's definitely on benefits. There's no way he's got this show of his without being on benefits. No way. The hours he's on there, he's actually getting his benefits. He obviously could work if he can do all this, and also he's trying to get more money. It's sin, 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 and yet he feels that he can go slagging me off and other people. I just also say that some people need to, before you become a Christian, you have to really study the Bible, the New Testament, and know what it means. Know what it means before you can name yourself that. But they have this, I say, Disneyland thing. Oh, it's all like, oh, and it always comes in. It's always for them. Strange enough, it's better. Works out better for them, not any victims they may have created in the past with the behavior. This Axel, does anyone want to talk about Axel? Because I don't know what's going on here. I haven't heard any of this. Oh, why are you dark secrets? Just notice, yeah. This is it. God cannot create imperfection. If you believe in a God, I mean, I believe that there is something after this world, and I believe there is something, but I don't define it as a creator God. I don't see anything as being a God that creates it all. I more or less have the idea that there is, and it was most probably this concept. There's a concept called mind before matter. In other words, before the universe existed, consciousness existed, and we're all part of that consciousness, but it wasn't one being. And somehow all of us brought this universe into creation. But whether that's right or not, I don't know, and no one knows until they get over there. No one knows. You can only hope or guess that yours is the right one. Yeah, that's what I believe. And I believe so. It's like the power of life itself, as say mind before matter, life itself. Or that life, the creation, the existence did it, not one God. But you could be wrong. I mean, you might get up there and suddenly you see the Egyptians' gods there, Osiris and all that. You don't know, do you? You can't see. Might be in for a real shock. But see, you don't know. I think people who were brought up in, let's say, because I say I was brought up Catholic, and your parents believe. Oh God, my mama was she was an Irish Catholic, but she wasn't a staunch. She wasn't one of these that thought that gay people or anything like that. She didn't. She was very, very liberal minded, extremely liberal minded. But it's also like got the Stern version of the New Testament that God could see you if you were sinning, and it was a terrible thing to do this, it was a terrible thing to do that. But now it's like it is so it's turned into, see, years ago when the church was the only thing, they could threaten you and terrify you with hell, fire, and damnation if you didn't do right. Hell, fire, and damnation. Because everyone was in the church. You had to be in the church, didn't you? But when the Reformation started, not the Reformation, when the Enlightenment started, a period when people started, like Darwin and all that, people started to question the idea of creation, what's the word? Creationism. I've got that wrong. Creationalism. As that it was created by a god, and they started to question it. Then the church started losing its grip on people. And the church, like every other organizations, needs money. And if they haven't got the people in there to give the tithings or the donations to the church, they're in trouble. So they've got to get the people, attract them back, and they can't force people to be Christians now. Well, what happened then? It became, oh, wait a minute, this hellfire isn't working anymore. We better look like we're the way to salvation. We can say Jesus saves. That's when you suddenly hear the Lord saves, Jesus saves. Oh, compassion, love. Your sins are forgiven. No matter what you do, your sins are forgiven. Just come into the church, come into the church, give a little money into that box, put a little money into that box. That's what happened. That's what starts to happen. And so it became like a loving God, a loving Jesus. No, this was all love, love, love. Yeah, it does go in the Bible that Jesus was a very loving person, but also he was very strict. Very, very strict. I mean, people forget he was actually a Jewish man and he followed the Jewish faith. There's no such thing as Christianity when he was alive. It didn't happen until about 200 years after he was dead, or he'd been crucified. So there was no such thing as Christianity back then. So he was a Jewish man that just had a different interpretation of the Jewish faith. But you really, in essence, if someone is really found Jesus, they shouldn't eat pork, they shouldn't eat shellfish. You should basically be acting like a Jew, but you believe that Jesus was the Messiah. Because that's what he was. He was a rabbi, wasn't he? So you should be doing that, but that the Christians now don't look anything like the Jewish faith, do they? Gone into a sort of completely different subject out here, haven't we? Is anyone jumping on, or I'm jumping off? Danny G is due out. What's happened to him? Dan G's brother, God knows. I think we can guess he'll be out and back in pretty quickly. Oh, thank you, Kev. Oh, everything was frowned upon. Everything. But you see, then the church could dictate because it rules society, basically, the church. But now it doesn't, so it has to be all cooey and cuddle in a way that it never was. But when you go over to Southern Ireland, when you go to some of the church there, I remember when I was getting me mama buried there, I had her body flown over so she could be buried in her hometown. And when I went into the church for the service, it was like, my God, I thought if you were depressed before, Christ, you'd be well depressed. It's like all fire and damnation. We are sinners and we go to love, but it was really heavy, dark stuff. Very hard, dark stuff. So, but here it seems to be all kiwi, lovely, kiwi. That's just to get people through the door. But again, if people want to believe it, they can, but don't go around then spewing out hate on your channel when claiming to be a Christian. Oh, people used to do that. They'd actually get they put the kids in, they wouldn't be Catholics, and they'd somehow get the kids into a Catholic school so they could get the education. Bertha, oh, yeah, that's what she always wanted. I wasn't actually told that. It was a family member said, oh, your mama said, this was when she was dying. She said, my dream would be to go to, but she didn't say it to me because she didn't want to put pressure on me. She said, oh, my dream would be to be buried in my hometown. Well, once I heard that, I would have done it anyway. I wouldn't have, she didn't have to say it, but I would have done it anyway. But it was, I'll say one thing, Ryan were absolutely wonderful. They were brilliant. They sorted everything out. They were amazing. They sorted absolutely everything out. But there were bank holidays and everything, and she had to be, because she was being flown out of the country, the embalming had to be extra done, and it was a nightmare. Waiting. It took about a month before we actually got her buried. And, it was like, until she was buried, I couldn't breathe out like that. I was like, oh, God. Oh, that's all right, Matrix. I remember went into the beautiful funeral parlor as well. Gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful funeral parlor. Massive. And they'd taken the lid off the coffin. So people could say goodbye to her, and that's not allowed. That's actually illegal. If you have someone flown out, once that lid's on, you can't take her off. But they did, and they said they didn't care what the English laws were. It was on. People had the right to say goodbye to her. And I was sitting there at one point, and the lights started flickering on and off. No, gently flickering on and off. And it wasn't until ages after someone said, that's supposed to be a sign from them, isn't it? Saying, don't worry, I'm still around. Oh, this, I love me blues. I've got a few colours of this. I had a red one. The red one got some ink on it and I can't wear it, which I'm going mad about. But I've got loads of different colours of these. Same style, but I like them. Do like them. I've got a green one. Come on, someone jump on your swines, or I'm going to have to go because I can't think of what to speak about. But we've spoken about all that anyway. Come on, someone was about motorsports, someone and what's going on. I want to put their viewpoint in. Excuse me. No one's jumping on and talking to me. We'll get up. We're nearly up to 40 minutes, but if no one's interested in jumping now on your method, I'll jump off because obviously no one wants a discussion, and that's what this is for—a discussion. Your method. Because I'm thinking that I was saying a couple of months ago, I said if these lives don't pick up, I'm going to stop doing them because there's no point. I might as well just do my normal videos because they're not working. I'm not enjoying them anymore because I'm just sitting here reading comments off the line, so there's no point. So I think this might very well be the last we'll have because it's not picking up at all. We'll have the autism ones, but I am fed up. No one calls in, and it's an open thing, an open live. So this is the last one now. I'm not doing any more. I'll do the autism ones because that's an important subject. But I'm not doing any more lives again. There's no point. I might as well just spend the time doing videos and putting them on there because one, they get more views. I mean, I like the interaction when it happens, but it's stupid this. I'm just looking at people making comments and no one's jumping on. It's supposed to be an open live. What that's telling me is people don't want it. The majority of people don't want an open live. So what I'm going to do, people, is I'm going to wind this up now because there's no point in me doing lives anymore. I'll be back. I'll be doing the Tuesday, I'll be doing the Tuesday autism one because that's important. But what I'll do now is I'll say thank you for tuning in, those who have tuned in. But you don't want it. Clearly, people don't want open lives from me. They just want the videos pre-recorded and put out there. So I'll say good night. And I say Tuesday, I'll be doing the autism one. Till then, my lovelies, bye-bye.